Jinin Akebino. Alright, let's kick this off with a bang, literally. We're starting with Jinin Akebino, the so-called weakest member of the Seven Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist. And honestly, the dude still swings around a hammer and axe like he's trying to demo a house with a personal grudge. So, yeah, if he's the weakest, this squad was built different. Jinin's whole deal is power. Pure, stupid, muscle-bound power. He came from the infamous era of the Bloody Mist, a time when graduation ceremony basically meant murdering your classmates. And Jinin? He didn't just survive that mess, he thrived in it. People in the village called him a hero, but let's be honest, he was more of a walking murder enthusiast with a grin. Tactics? Nah. Strategy? Never heard of her. Jinin believed in smashing stuff first and asking no questions later. Now, about his weapon, Kabutawari, which, funnily enough, is not even a sword. It's a massive axe chained to a giant hammer. I don't know who approved that design, but I'd like to shake their hand. The idea is that you swing the axe into your opponent, and then bam, you slam the hammer down to drive it through like you're splitting firewood. They literally nicknamed it the helmet splitter, because subtlety was not on the menu. Jinin used this brutal combo to tear through enemies with raw force. One of his favorite tricks? Smashing the ground with the hammer to create shockwaves and send people flying. Sounds cool, until you realize he was basically a slow-moving wrecking ball. And against someone fast, like Kakashi during the 4th Shinobi War, well, let's just say the hammer didn't land. Jinin was slow, like get outpaced by a substitute teacher, slow. Kabutawari has 0 defensive perks, and Jinin had no plan B. His whole strategy was, I hit you harder than you can hit me, which works, right up until it doesn't. When you're that slow and predictable, any ninja with decent speed and a brain can make you look like you're swinging in slow motion. Hold up, we want to say thank you for supporting AnimeZONE and helping us surpass 17,000 subscribers. Our next goal is to reach 25,000, and every like, share, and subscribe from you is a huge motivation for us to keep creating in-depth, detailed videos like this one. If you don't forget to comment on what we should do next in our video, we read every single comment. Now, Jinpachi Munashi. Now, if you thought Jinin was dangerous, let me introduce you to a man who looked at a sword and said, needs more explosions. Enter Jinpachi Munashi, the wild card of the 7 swordsmen. This guy is what happens when you give a serial arsonist ninja training and 0 supervision. Jinpachi wasn't just brutal, he was unhinged. His resume includes casually murdering his own brother and blowing himself up so badly he lost an eye. That's right, this guy nearly deleted himself by accident. His weapon? The shibuki, also known as the blast sword. It's basically a long blade with a paper bomb dispenser built into it. You swing it, it explodes, and somehow you're expected to walk away from that in one piece. Spoiler alert, he didn't. The shibuki is chaos incarnate. After every swing, it reloads a fresh set of explosive tags, so Jinpachi could go on bombing sprees mid-fight like it's a fireworks festival from hell. He used it in close quarters, at range, even slammed it into the ground to make wide-area explosions. The man had no chill. In fact, he used it so recklessly that it was a miracle his own teammates survived. Actually, scratch that. He almost blew up his partner Kushimaru several times. Friendly fire? Jinpachi invented it. During the 4th Shinobi War, he was revived and thrown straight into battle against the 3rd Division. And you know what? He made an entrance. Explosions everywhere, total chaos, and probably a few soldiers who wished they'd just called in sick that day. Jinpachi's biggest weakness was Jinpachi. The guy treated a live bomb like a toy. That lack of awareness got him into trouble, both in the past and in the war. Losing an eye to your own weapon? That's not edgy, that's just Darwinism in action. And because he was so obsessed with blowing things up, he had no real strategy. No coordination, just boom boom and pray. Kushimaru Kuriarare. If there's one guy in this group who could haunt your dreams without even trying, it's Kushimaru Kuriarare. Imagine Slenderman with a sword and a sewing fetish. Yeah, that's this guy. He wasn't just scary because he looked like a cursed scarecrow. No, it was what he did to people that made your skin crawl. Kushimaru came straight out of the darkest period in the Mist Village's history. Back then, survival meant killing your fellow students. And Kushimaru? He didn't just pass the test, he killed his sensei too. You know, just in case there was any doubt that he belonged in therapy and not on a battlefield. But instead of getting help, he got handed one of the 7 swords. Great decision, Mist Village. His weapon, Nuibari, also known as the sewing needle, was as twisted as he was. It looked like a giant needle with a ridiculously long wire trailing behind it. The purpose? To stab through multiple enemies in one go and then sew their bodies together like some kind of horror movie art project. It was efficient, gruesome, and honestly, kind of creative. This man didn't kill people. He stitched them into corpse bundles. I mean, that's commitment. Kushimaru used Nuibari with terrifying speed, especially when combined with the hidden mist jutsu. Picture this. You're stuck in a fog, can't see a thing, and suddenly, stab, you're part of a human tapestry. He'd use the wire to trap enemies, pin them down, or tie them up in painful poses before finishing them off. And in the anime, he even used senbon needles with wires to slice people's tendons. This guy was like a walking medical malpractice lawsuit. Now, he wasn't unbeatable. Nuibari was insanely fast, but it lacked raw destructive power. He had to rely on precise strikes and clever setups. If someone could see through the mist, or was just faster than him, they could dodge and take him down. Plus, let's be real, he wasn't much of a team player. His sadistic nature made coordination pretty much impossible. Even Jinpachi, who blew things up for fun, probably thought, man, this guy's a bit too much. Raiga Kurosuki. Alright, now it's time to talk about Raiga Kurosuki. Technically a filler character, but honestly, he brought more voltage than half the main cast. Raiga was the original wielder of the Kiba blades before Ameyuri took them, and his vibe was basically electrocuted rage monster with mood swings. Raiga was from the Mist Village too, shocker, but after things went south, he went rogue and formed the Kurosuki family, which sounds like a loving clan, until you realize it was a murder cult. His closest companion was a sickly kid named Ranmaru, who basically acted like a human radar system. And Raiga, he treated him like a combination of little brother, emotional crutch, and personal therapist. The man was one bad day away from a meltdown at all times. But let's talk about those swords. Kiba, the Thunder Twins, were twin blades infused with lightning chakra. These weren't just sharp, they buzzed. Raiga used them to shoot lightning bolts, conduct natural electricity, and generally make himself everyone's worst nightmare during a thunderstorm. And yes, he did pair this with hidden mist jutsu, just to make sure no one could see the lightning coming until it fried their brain cells. His fighting style was a flashy mix of close quarters slicing and ranged electric mayhem. He could summon storms, launch bolts, and basically cosplay as a walking power plant. During the Curry of Life arc, he faced off against Naruto and Rock Lee, summoned a literal lightning storm, and went out in the most dramatic way possible, by electrocuting himself to death. Talk about going out with a bang and a sizzle. But the real issue with Raiga wasn't his power. It was his instability. The guy was emotionally fragile, highly reactive, and completely unhinged. He'd fly into fits of rage or depression, depending on how the wind blew. Add that to a fighting style that relied heavily on lightning and fog, and you've got a recipe for disaster if anyone brought a good wind release or sensory ability into the mix. Ameyuri Ringo. Now we're talking Ameyuri Ringo, the only female swordsman in the strongest generation of the Seven Ninja Swordsmen. And honestly, she was more terrifying than half the guys combined. Don't let the playful smile fool you. This woman was the human version of a thunderstorm with a bloodlust problem. Ameyuri came from the Mist Village like the others, but her story hit a little different. She had a terminal illness, which, ironically, saved her from getting bodied by Might Dai like the rest of her squad. But even with her condition, she racked up a kill count that'd make a warlord jealous, over 100 chunin in one fight. And she called strong opponents her meals? That's not quirky, that's straight up disturbing. Her weapon? Kiba, the Lightning Twins. Sleek, elegant, and crackling with chakra. Kiba amplified her lightning release, letting her slice through just about anything, or just zap you from across the battlefield like a budget Raikage. Ameyuri fought like lightning itself, fast, brutal, and hard to dodge. She didn't just swing a sword, she danced with it, raining down precision strikes and chain lightning attacks that could fry squads in seconds. In the anime, she fought Omoi and respected his courage enough to give him the swords afterward. That's the combat version of saying, "You win, take my stuff, I'm out." That illness didn't just shorten her life, it limited how long she could fight. Her lightning style burned through her stamina like crazy. And while Kiba was deadly, it also made her predictable. Wind-style users or chakra disruptors could shut her down if they kept their cool, which granted is hard when someone's trying to barbecue your spine. Juzo Biwa. Next up, Juzo Biwa. If the other swordsmen were loud, flashy psychopaths, Juzo was their moody older brother who just wanted to kill in peace. Calm, cold, and constantly drenched in someone else's blood, Juzo was the definition of let my blade do the talking. He came from the same blood-soaked Mist Village era as the rest, trained to be a killer since day one. But unlike most of his peers, Juzo eventually dipped. He left the Mist, joined Akatsuki, and ended up working alongside Itachi Uchiha. And if that doesn't tell you how dangerous he was, nothing will. His weapon of choice was Kubikiri Bocho, the executioner's blade. Big, heavy, and shaped like it belonged in a butcher shop. It had that iconic circle near the tip, not for decoration, but to reduce weight and make the killing blow cleaner. Oh, and the blade repaired itself by absorbing the blood of its victims. Nothing says eco-friendly ninja like a self-healing murder sword. Juzo used Kubikiri Bocho like it was an extension of his body. He could fight off entire groups with sheer strength and clean technique. In the anime, he teamed up with Itachi to take on the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, and for a while, he held his own, until he tried to block a tailed beast bomb. Yeah, not his best idea. The blade shattered, and Juzo died from the backlash. Brutal way to go out, but hey, he died swinging. Now here's the thing, as cool as his sword was, no explosions, no lightning, no sealing jutsu, just a big chunk of metal and a lot of blood. If his opponent was faster or had something special, like Yagura's tailed beast powers, Juzo could get overwhelmed. His whole style relied on strength, stamina, and just not dying. Great until you fight someone who doesn't care how sharp your sword is. Fuguki Suikazan. And now we've reached Fuguki Suikazan, the biggest guy in the group, both literally and metaphorically shady. This man wasn't just carrying one of the most terrifying swords in the ninja world, he was also carrying a secret. He was a full-blown traitor. Fuguki served as a high-ranking ninja of the Mist Village, and believe it or not, he was actually Kisame's superior in the cryptography squad. Yeah, that's right. The Shark Boy himself used to report to this mountain of muscle. He wielded Same Hata, the shark skin blade. But let's be real, Same Hata is less of a sword and more of a hungry sea monster wrapped in bandages. It doesn't slice, it rips. Covered in jagged shark scales, this thing eats chakra and can literally reject its wielder if it doesn't like them. That's right, the sword has preferences. Fuguki carried it before Kisame did, but let's just say they weren't exactly soulmates. Fuguki's combat style revolved around stealth and absorption. He used hidden mist jutsu to vanish into the fog, then used Samehata to drain chakra like a silent predator. And if that wasn't enough, the man could fire senbon needles from his hair. Yes, his hair. Jiraiya would be proud, or confused. Now, Fuguki survived Might Dai's infamous 8 Gates massacre, at least according to the manga, which, to be fair, says something about his durability. But that didn't save him from his own student. Kisame found out about his betrayal and didn't hesitate, cut him down, and took Samehata for himself. That's one heck of a promotion. Zabuza Momochi. We've got the legend himself, Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist. This guy was the first real villain in Naruto, and he made such an impact that even after his arc ended, we couldn't forget him. And let's be honest, when you show up dragging a butcher's blade bigger than most Jinin and threaten to silence everyone in a foggy death trap, yeah, people remember you. Zabuza came from the same nightmare-inducing period of Mist Village history as the others. The kid literally slaughtered over 100 classmates just to prove he deserved to be a ninja. That's not school spirit, that's straight-up horror movie energy. And yet, even with all that blood on his hands, Zabuza was complicated. He may have been cold, ruthless, and terrifying, but his bond with Haku revealed a softer side. One that most shinobi from the Mist probably didn't even know existed. After his failed coup against the Mizukage, he went rogue, carrying all the trauma, regret, and violence of his village's bloody legacy with him. He wielded Kubikiri Bocho, yes, the same sword Juzo used. Massive, terrifying, and self-repairing from blood. But unlike Juzo, Zabuza didn't just swing it around like a maniac. He paired it with expert-level water release techniques and, of course, his signature hidden mist jutsu. His whole style was built around disappearing into fog and striking from the shadows, like a ninja horror movie villain. His most iconic fight? The first big boss battle of Naruto, Zabuza versus Kakashi. It had everything: giant swords, misty duels, a kid with ice mirrors, and a heartbreaking ending. Despite being a killer, Zabuza died showing loyalty and emotion, choosing to be by Haku's side in the end. And let's be honest, none of us expected to cry over the guy who threatened to slice Naruto's throat 2 episodes earlier. But Zabuza had weaknesses. His sword was huge and heavy, fighting dragged out too long, and he'd get tired. Plus, his fog tricks didn't work as well against sensory types or Sharingan users. Kakashi could literally see through the mist, which kind of killed the whole silent assassin vibe. Mangetsu Hozuki. Okay, so imagine this. You're a ninja prodigy from a clan that can literally turn into water, and, oh, you've mastered all 7 legendary swords of the mist. Not 1, not 2, all 7. That's Mangetsu Hozuki for you. And yet, despite being this sword-slinging water god, the guy didn't even get a full episode to flex. Mangetsu came from the famous Hozuki clan, the same one as Suigetsu. You know, the guy who turns into a puddle whenever things get rough. Mangetsu could do the same, but with 10 times the talent. While we don't know much about his personality, everything we do know screams genius. Loyal to the mist, skilled beyond belief, and somehow still dead before his time. What's the Mist Village feeding these kids? Now, the big flex here is that Mangetsu could wield every single one of the 7 ninja swords. The Executioner's Blade, the Lightning Fang, the Needle, the Hammer Axe combo, the Explosion Sword. You name it, he could swing it. Even Samahata, the chakra-eating diva sword that rejects most people like bad Tinder dates. Mangetsu made it work. That alone should earn him a statue somewhere. During the 4th Great Ninja War, Mangetsu showed up through Edo Tensei, summoning the swords from a scroll like he was shopping at a deadly weapon store. And while he mostly supported the other swordsmen, the fact that he could carry and control all those weapons mid-battle was insane. It's like giving a master chef access to every kitchen tool in existence and watching him cook chaos. But we never saw his true potential. No iconic one-on-one fight, no final form power-up, just hints, flashbacks, and a sad reminder that sometimes the best burn out too early. There's also the issue of specialization. Wielding 7 blades means you're spread thin. He may not have had the sheer overpowering presence of someone like Kisame. Chojuro, the 6th Mizukage. Yeah, he started as the nervous, stuttering sidekick of Mei Terumi, but by the time Boruto rolled around, this guy was running the show. Talk about a glow-up. Chojuro grew up in a reformed Mist Village, post-bloodbath era. No more kill-your-classmate exams. He became a sword user under Mei's guidance, and while he didn't have the wild backstory like some of the others, he had something even more dangerous: potential plus patience. His sword? Hiramekirai, a broad, heavy blade with a sealed-off design. But don't let the dull look fool you. Once infused with chakra, Hiramekirai transforms into anything: a twin sword, a chakra hammer, a literal water cannon if needed. It's like a shape-shifting Swiss Army sword with a temper. Chojuro's combat style blends powerful strikes with tactical water release. He can slam the ground, cut through defenses, or flood the battlefield. In Boruto, he clashed with the new generation of rogue swordsmen, including kids wielding the very blades once held by legends, and he beat them all, solo. That's not just skill, that's experience, calm under pressure, and knowing exactly when to swing. Of course, it wasn't always smooth sailing. Early on, Chojuro lacked confidence. He second-guessed himself, hesitated in fights, and had to grow into his role. But that's what makes him different from the other swordsmen. While they were monsters born of blood and mist, Chojuro chose to be better. He proved that power doesn't always come from cruelty. It can come from discipline, heart, and holding a ridiculously huge sword with both hands. His only real weakness? Chakra consumption. Hiramekirai eats up a ton of energy, especially when used in extended fights. And while he's strong, he's not as flashy or overwhelming as the old generation. But honestly, that's okay. He's not trying to be Zabuza or Kisame. He's trying to be Chojuro. Kisame Hoshigaki. Now this is where things get serious. If you've been following the Seven Ninja Swordsmen up to this point, you've seen murderers, maniacs, and misty monsters. But Kisame Hoshigaki, he's on a whole different level. This man wasn't just the strongest of the group. He earned the title Tailed Beast Without a Tail. And honestly, that wasn't just dramatic branding. He earned it. Kisame came from the same brutal hidden mist village, where loyalty was optional and violence was a lifestyle. He served under Fuguki Suikazan, yes, the traitor with the big shark sword, and eventually killed him to take Samihara. That move alone tells you all you need to know about Kisame. He doesn't play around. Samihara isn't your average blade. It's a living creature covered in shark scales with a mind and appetite of its own. It eats chakra, grows in size, and can literally sprout spikes to reject users it doesn't like. But with Kisame, it found a match made in blood-soaked heaven. These two were inseparable, sometimes even literally. Kisame could fuse with Samihara to become a half-shark, half-human monster who could regenerate and breathe underwater. Basically, the final boss of an ocean horror movie. Kisame's fighting style? Pure, crushing pressure. He had absurd amounts of chakra, rivaling some Jinchuriki, and used that to flood entire battlefields with water release techniques. Once the terrain became a giant fish tank, he summoned actual sharks, and if that didn't work, he'd swim after you himself like a torpedo with a grudge. His fight against Killer Bee showed just how lethal his combo of Samihara and chakra absorption could be. He literally drained Bee's chakra mid-fight, weakening a perfect Jinchuriki like it was nothing. But the fight that truly sealed Kisame's legacy? The showdown against Might Guy. At 30% power, his clone forced Guy to open the 6th gate. And when the real Kisame showed up later, he pushed Guy all the way to the 7th gate, taking on massive shockwaves and still nearly turning the tide. That's power you can't ignore. And he didn't go down begging either. Kisame bit off his own tongue to avoid leaking intel and summoned a water dome of sharks to eat himself alive. Yeah, he fed himself to his own summons just to keep a secret. That's dedication, or madness. Probably both. But even Kisame had weaknesses. Samihara, for all its loyalty, could still betray him if it found tastier chakra. It literally crawled away to heal Killer Bee at one point. Plus, Kisame's entire style leaned heavily on water terrain. No lake nearby? Time to start digging.